Good morning, Israel. It's Dr. John Taylor Kent. It is Monday. I've had breakfast. Dog's been out for her morning run. And I'm in this awkward position because I have my books open and my pages marked. I was trying to cover something the other day when I was showing the United States of America and the Bible, particularly in light of the curses for disobedience, because as I read through those curses for disobedience, the impression I get is I'm reading about my nation today, the suffering that we have today. Okay, we're suffering the curses for disobedience, which to me is a proof that we are Israel today. We also are descended of, I believe, Manasseh. I could have that wrong. It could have been Ephraim. My buddy could have that wrong. We just don't know just yet. So that's one of those things which you can read the Bible and sort out. And if you get it figured out, tell me, please. Barak is in the Bible. And I could not find it yesterday because I don't have my parallel King James NIV translation handy. I broke the binding on my second version of that. Zondervan's hard copy bindings are worth 2 cents. I broke them within 9 months, each one of them. I bought a replacement. I liked having it that much. To have a good, decent version of the King James side by side with the New International Version is wonderful because there's vast differences and one will fill in where the other one leaves off a little bit. If I had to lean in one direction, I'd lean in the direction of the King James Version. The English is kind of obscure. It's difficult to really understand it very easily. The NIV is a more straight-ahead word-for-word translation. It's more accurate in that sense. But the King James is more accurate in a phrase translation in context. So it's actually got more of the spirit in that sense. They're both good. I don't have to approve of the committees that worked on the NIV. There were some committees of folks that live against the principles in the Bible. But, you know, even the Satan is used for Yahweh. Even Satan works for Yahweh. He just doesn't know it. I said that last time. It's from Pastor Jerry Wiki. So Barack Insane Obama is in the Bible. And I'm bringing this up as a proof to you that the evil ones are using the Bible. And so you might want to read the Bible in order to be able to defend against them. They use the Bible. They mirror it as much as they can. Shakespeare mirrored the Bible as much as possible. Good English literature goes after the Bible metaphors and allusions and mimics that. That's an important part of the fabric of Western civilization. Barak. His real name, as far as I can tell, was Barry Sotero. He was adopted by that fellow in Indonesia. Mr. Sotero was actually, he coordinated the hits for the CIA in Malaysia or wherever the hell it was down there. He was the guy that had the hit squads, and if you wanted somebody dead, he gave the word, and that was it. And our CIA subcontracted to him. And Barack, Barry, Sotero, whatever you want to call him, was a CIA operative. It was a CIA psyop on America. It's one of the worst things that ever happened. The guy was a devout Marxist. Well, we were told his father was from Africa, which of course doesn't make him a United States citizen. At that point, Kenya was actually under the crown, under the Queen of Britain. So he was a British subject, if that's what the case was. Turns out that they used him kind of as a front. It appears as though Frank Marshall Davis, the American communist, was his father and trained him up. So when he wrote about Dreams of My Father, It probably was Frank Marshall Davis. I don't like the man. You American women in the suburbs, in particular, you white women in the suburbs, felt guilty, and you voted him in for president. It was you who gave us Barack Insane Obama. Now, when they were going to run him as a politician, and I don't know when, but they changed his name from Barry to Barack. And you got to admit, Barack sounds a lot more masculine, a lot more, it sounds stronger than Barry. Okay, the word Barack in Strong's Concordance. This is important. It's number 1300. Like that, huh? 1300. Barak, B-A-R-A-Q. Barak, from 1299, the previous word, which is also Barak, with a little bit of a different accent over the second A. Lightning, by analogy, a gleam, a flashing sword. Fighting, glittering, bright glitter, glittering sword. This is important. It's very important because of the other mention of the word Barak in the Bible. I'm going to have to shuffle around here to get to that. But I got the Strong's Concordance out. And I think Young's is a good concordance. There's other good concordances out there. I wish I had more of a house, more room. I'd like to have more of a library. Actually found a rig last night that was going to be good, except it was going to use too much fuel. So it was going to cost me in that. I'd have to have more income to run around the country in that rig for sure. But it was sold already, and that's all right. At least I have a better idea as to what I'd like to have. That was a very nice rig. So, word number 1300 in the Hebrew and Aramaic dictionary in Strong's Concordance. And Barak also was the first name of the general under Deborah. Barak was a pansy who wouldn't go out there unless Deborah went out there with him. He wasn't going to go to fighting against unless his mommy went with him. And Deborah told him that, okay, very well then, if that's the way you want it, Yahweh will deliver Sisera, the opposing general, into the hands of a woman. Deborah she was a prophetess for sure, and had a bit of a sense of humor. And it turns out that Jael nailed, pretty much literally, nailed Sisera's head to the ground with a tent stake. She somehow got him into the tent, fed him some milk. He was exhausted. He went to sleep, and she took a hammer and a tent peg and aimed that thing at that son of a bitch's temple and whacked it right into the ground. Pretty much instant death, and went back outside. And then when they showed up and wanted, they were looking for Sisera. Man, she says, the one you're looking for is inside. What? Yeah, Yahweh delivered him into the hand of a woman. And that woman was important enough. Her name is in the Bible. Those are very rare. I mean, those should be known. Women should know that. And we men should know it too, because you aren't exactly the weaker sex. She fooled him, took advantage of that, and nailed him, killed him. Simple housewife did that. Man, I think a simple housewife could run this country better than what we have now. Oh, for certain. No, hands down. The average housewife who's got a husband and children and is coordinating all that stuff and managing a budget, she'd do a better job running this country than any of those jackasses in D.C. right now. My God. I mean, the common sense that she would bring to the job. She would know what's important. Moms have to know that, And the fact that she's got a shop and she's got to figure out the best way to spend the limited resources that the family has, And she has to take care of her husband, her children, herself. That's a lot of skill. It really is. And you ladies out there who live that kind of a life, and the other women consider you sheltered, they don't realize you're just part of a team. You know, you're the backbone of our morality, as my grandmother told me many times. Let's get on with this. This is important. This is Barak in the Bible. Let's see if I can get to it again. It's Deuteronomy chapter 32. And I think that's it. And I lost it. I had my finger on it and I lost it. Okay, 32 verse 41. So you think about that. 3, 2, 4, 1. First four numbers. 3, 2, 4, 1. Deuteronomy 32 verse 41. This is from the proper name version of the King James Bible. If I sharpen my glittering sword, and my hand takes hold on judgment, I will render vengeance to my enemies, and will reward them that hate me. This is Yahweh speaking, right? Okay. If I sharpen my glittering sword is Barak, B-A-R-A-Q, couple of odd accents on the vowels in that. Okay. And we have to remember that the vowels were added. They weren't there in the original. Imagine the scholarliness that's had to occur over the years to keep this intact, as much as it's been kept intact for us. So in the King James Version, the old one, it says, when I sharpen, I think it means I will take my glittering sword and I will use it against those who hate me, or I will use it against my enemies. So today the United States of America is the enemy of Yahweh. No, we're not Yahweh's friends at all. And we actually put a man who was not our brother. I don't think he was a man after the spirit of America. His father was a devout communist. And we put him in office. That's in violation of biblical principles. The Israelites were required and limited. And Yahweh said clearly, you could only put another man over you as king who was your brother. You couldn't have a foreigner over you. And remember, the Israelite structure was a patriarchy. It wasn't a matriarchy. Okay, that's important because the people that run around the world calling themselves the chosen ones today, they have a matriarchy. You inherit it through your mother. That came out of the people at Mount Seir, otherwise known as Mount Edom, in the southern part of Israel. It's a virtual fortress. I mean, it's very sharp, steep mountains, very easily defended. And that's where Esau settled with his men. Esau, who became known as Edom, when he sold his inheritance for a bowl of Edom porridge, of red lentils. I think I'm covering this adequately for you. Now, we need to move forward to another place, and I'm going to use this concordance once again and see if I can find it. So I'm going to look up, what am I going to look up? Lightning or glaring sword? See, I had my finger on it, but I lost it. I'm just going to go right to the Bible directly. I hope I can find it, so bear with me here. I think we're going to the book of Matthew. And in this particular passage, Yahshua is speaking. Yahshua the Messiah is speaking. And he breaks character. He's talking about one thing, and all of a sudden he breaks character and breaks the flow and talks about something else. Just in the middle of the whole passage, and then continues on like it was nothing. Like he hadn't said what he said. Now, why is that? Why would he structure up his presentation like that? He would structure up that presentation so he would draw your attention to it. You break the rules of standard operating procedure. You break the flow of consciousness. There's a reason for that, and he wants to get your attention. So I don't know if I can find this or not, but some of you already know where it is, and you're probably screaming at me and helping me there. And of course, you're going to get this later because YouTube has to process this. They have to censor it and make sure it's acceptable. So basically, what it is that Yahweh in the flesh, that's how I call it. It was Yahshua said, I'm just going to have to look this up. That's all there is to it. Forgive me, I'll talk to you as much as I can while I do this, but I'm going to have to go the long way around. I'd like to have a little bit better desk. I've got very little room here even to eat on. Lightning is the term. And the passage we're looking for is, I saw Satan falling on high like lightning. And you have to remember that the Satan class of angels were thrown to the earth. They were sent out of heaven and they were thrown to the earth. A third of the angels were kicked out of the heavens and they conspired on Mount Hermon against mankind. And that's what we're dealing with today. We're not dealing with anything small. It's a big conspiracy. It's not a small one. As I've tried to explain to you, you think you can just go after the descendants of Cain. Well, that would be nice if all that's all you had to contend with. But you've got, and we're talking about those in the flesh, the DNA children of Satan. Mark my words, it's actual literal DNA children of Satan. Then you've got the spiritual children of Satan. So that's a whole other class, and who knows? That's probably bigger than the DNA children. But the other problem is Cain was born of one of 200 fallen angels. So that multiplies the problem quite a bit more. So don't expect that you're going to be able to go after them. And by the way, they used other populations and hide behind them. The most famous are the Jews. That's just the way it is. Okay. All right. Luke 10:18. Fine. Figures. Wrong book entirely, but at least it's one of the three Gospels. I'm not that far off. All right. 10:18. Let's go to this. Actually, there may be more than one reference in the Gospels to this. And he said to them, I beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven. Lightning, Barak, fall from heaven. And this is an important passage. This is an important, it's actually, this passage is in context. We're looking for one more passage. So I will look and see if I can figure this out in a matter of not too much more time. It's such tiny print here in this. Lightnings is one of them, lightning. That's it. It's just that in the Old English it reads a little bit different. And it actually seems like it's more out of context in the Old English of the King James. Basically, you need to understand a few things right now. Number one, the idea that there's a pit and there's an angel in the pit. And we have that in the book of Revelations, and his name is Apollyon, also named Abaddon. Apollyon is short for Apollo, the sun god. And that's the angel of the pit. And the way it's written in the Bible, we tend to look under our feet for that. No, it's over our heads. It is the actual sun itself. This is an analogy, if you will. This is the sun. When it explodes, it goes micronova. And that micronova occurs at a certain period of time. Every time that our solar system gets into this particular quadrant of the Milky Way, we hit a node, and when we hit that node, our sun becomes irritated and goes micronova. So approximately every 12,000 years, there are other cycles. There's a 30,000 year cycle, and there's about a 125,000 year cycle as well. So you boys and girls out there who might hear this, you've got plenty to research and plenty to learn to do. Now, when that sun goes off, we go into an ice age. Okay? And it destroys a significant amount of life, not just humans, on the surface of the planet. And we have had species disappear during these events, and we've had speciation. Species appear. Planted? I don't know. We do know from the Bible that Adam was placed upon the earth, and that is in the oldest book in the Bible. But the book of Job is the oldest text we have in the Bible. If you read it carefully, you'll realize it's probably written in a previous Earth age, very likely. And it does mention the constellations, and those are the constellations from which life on this planet has come from. It mentions the Pleiades. There are other constellations and planets mentioned as well. So we're different species from different planets put here, placed here. And Adam was placed last, from what I can tell from the reading I've done. Adam was placed last. And I believe that we were placed here last to take control, authority on the planet, and to run the planet, run the earth as good stewards for the benefits of all life upon the earth, all inhabitants upon the earth, including the other types of people. And I think we did a good job. Just guessing that we did a good job, but we lost our position. We were supplanted by the Satans, the Satan class. And so they run the place today. And they know what's coming. As far as I can tell, they've been here for about 70,000 years. I did some figuring and I went back to 50,000, and then a teacher told me, no, it's 70,000 years. That there was a big battle in space. And the captain that won was Michael. And we've called him the Archangel. He represents Israel. And the word was that he drove 3 of their giant spaceships to the earth. And they crashed here. Anyway, it's a little bit off subject. The main thing I want you to understand is that there's many levels to understanding the Bible here. And Barak is in the Bible. And they changed his name from Barry to Barak in order to mimic the Bible. And in case you're wondering, Barak did a really good job of setting this government up, setting the deep state up, so that we have this battle that's going on today. I just don't see how it can end well. Earlier this morning on my other channel, Dr. John Taylor Kent, and the videos being processed, and of course they're going to do their best to find a strike and take me down. They don't want me to say certain things. Well, they don't want any of us to say certain things. I do my best to stay off those topics, but they still aren't going to like the fact that I say vote the bastards out. And they're not going to like this other one either. And I think this is more important. And that is that, Trump came along and we've got that motto, make America great again. Well, Alec de Tocqueville, the Frenchman who wrote a wonderful book about life in the Americas, the basic conclusion was America was great because America was good. Our founders knew who they were. They knew they were descendants of the Israelites. They were all schooled in the Bible. That's what they grew up on. That was their original primer. That's how they learned how to read. It was from the Bible. There were a couple, maybe 3 different versions prevalent here in the colonies. But you haven't read the Bible, I'll bet. I didn't read the Bible till I was over 50 years of age. I regret. I don't consider myself, even though I have that many degrees formally, as educated until I had read the Bible about 3 times. Then I felt like I knew something. Your defense is to become good. And sadly, when you're good, you're innocent. And you cannot detect the evil ones. You cannot detect their frauds very well. You cannot tell what they're about because that's not part of your experience. And as a result, they infiltrate and take over us. And one of my spiritual teachers said that what amazed him was our innocence, how innocent we were. And he came over here in about 1970. He couldn't come directly to the United States. He had to go through Canada first. And then he came here. And in his presentations, he finally he admitted, I considered it an admission, that he was a teacher. He said he was a teacher of Saturnalia. Saturnalia is part of that bad system. It's pretty sad that I opened myself up to that. But I guess I had to make myself vulnerable so I would understand that that's not the way to go. So we have to make America good again. I don't have anything to sell but Bibles. I'd love to be able to sell some hats, and you can imagine what I'd put on it right now. And I wouldn't make it a red hat. I'd make it blue, because that's really the color that should be there for the Republican Party. That red hat should be representative of Esau, Edom, and that should be the Democrats' hat because they're a bunch of communists. That's all there is to it. In case you're wondering where the ideas for communism came from, they came from one of the Greek philosophers. I couldn't stand him. I was required to read him in college. I'm glad I was required reading. I was educated by the Jesuits, and they had more requirements than anybody else. I lost my train of thought. I have mixed feelings about the Jesuits. Don't even like admitting that because then people assume I'm a Jesuit. There are 2 types of Jesuit on the earth today. There is the Jesuit who takes the oath and dons the attire, lives out the role publicly. And then there's a Latin term for this, and I've only seen it one time, and I didn't save that. There's a Latin term for these Jesuits that take the oath but do not don the attire. In other words, they are Jesuits in secret. They take the blood oaths. And the blood oaths were designed to foster Satan. Let me tell you something else about the Jesuits. At the time they were formed, or I think, that was the first time they were formed, they were about decimated. The Pope saw how evil they were and banded them. Their motto was, and their goal, and this is what the Jesuits told me, to put forth the name of Jesus. Well, there's a problem with the name of Jesus. That wasn't his name. If you want to know his name, and you should know his name, and you want to get real understanding, then get the best copy of the Bible available today. The proper name version of the King James Bible. By reading this, you'll come to understand Yahshua was his name. It wasn't Jesus. That was something they tossed in there later. They tossed that in about the time of the King James Bible, maybe slightly before, but it wasn't in there. And the name Jesus is in there. There are other characters, other personages named Jesus in the Bible. They say Jesus saves. Well, there's a problem with that. The name has no saving meaning to it. Yahshua's got a couple of meanings. One of those is he who saves the anointed. So there's saving as part of Yahshua's name. So that you should take as a proof that it was Yeshua, the Messiah. He didn't say Yeshua. I didn't Judaize it. Yahshua, Y-A-H, Yah, which is the first three letters for Yahweh. Y-A-H, Yah. Yah is an affirmation. And in case you're wondering, the Germans, and German means genuine, the Germans use the name Yah for yes, affirmative, in their language. The Germanic peoples were from Judah. And that's why the Germanic peoples were targeted. However, back when the Pope wanted an emperor, guess who we got? And when he wanted a warrior, guess who we got? Every one of those he anointed, that he summoned to do his bidding and to defend him, were Germans. We went after Germany for a reason, not a good reason. And it was because they were a very good people. They were better than we were. They were more rational. They were more noble. They were far more honest. They ratted themselves out all the time. They were far more innocent. And we made them into the monsters for the rest of us to go after. Not once, but twice. And now here we are a third time. We've set things up to destroy their industry. They're not even going to be able to heat themselves this winter. So the world is really a mess because the evil ones have pulled off the biggest identity theft in history. What can you and I do about it? Well, we can change ourselves. It's about all we can do. It's certainly where we should start. And so I ask you to engage in a simple prayer. Simply put, ask Yahweh if it is your will, and I'm sure it is. Yahweh, make me good. Help me to improve. Help me so I can discern the better choice of what's in front of me. Help me by making it clear to me. Help me also by giving me the fortitude, the strength of character, a constitution strong enough so I can withstand the evils, the perils, the disease, so that I can make what at times is going to be the tough choice that seems to be not the best choice, but yet it is the best choice according to you, your will, your laws, your ways. Do that for me today. Make me a better person today. We've got to start individually. It's our greatest weapon, our greatest defense. It's not the guns. Greatest defense is right here. And if you listen to that president that you women gave us, Barack Hussein Obama, he'll tell you they cling to their guns and to their Bibles. Okay, we've bought a bunch of guns. So what? God, I hope we never have to use them. I don't want to have to rely upon that. We've not given the Bible a chance. We've got to give the Bible a chance. It's our greatest weapon. It will sharpen your mind. You'll actually find that by exposing yourself to this book, the Holy Spirit will grow in you. As you turn towards Yahweh, He's going to turn to you. He's going to turn to you a little bit harder, sharper, and stronger than what you're turning to Him. In case you're wondering, don't doubt it. You will. Well, if you ask, and if you adopt an attitude of gratitude, that's a pretty simple thing, and it's almost become trite. That phrase has been bannered about so much. But if you're grateful for your blessings, maybe He'll show you how your decision came about to the best opportunity for you. The earth is going through changes. The magnetic field is dropping. The stability of all of us is in question. as individuals. And so this wonderful cortex, the vast majority of the connections of which are inhibiting, not excitatory, those actually civilize us, those are going to become a little less strong. They're going to weaken. We're not going to be able to control ourselves as much. And of course, today it's all about control. Government wants to control every aspect. And the government can show no mercy. It's not going to be merciful like the other person's going to be, who's finally wakes up and goes, "Hey, I'm sorry. I'm older. I should know better than that. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to get into this, to get aggressive with you just over a little traffic thing. Nobody got hurt. No harm. No foul. We should be glad that we didn't have an accident, and be grateful for the fact that, yeah, it was a near miss, but it was a miss." Accidents really do happen. The problem is that people are going to take it personally today. You want to take something personally? Take these jackasses in office. Take them right out. When the incumbents are no longer kept, then they'll realize they've got to adhere to what the people want. I'm talking about Republican incumbents as well. My father was so frustrated. He said we need to vote all incumbents out. He probably said that 3 or 4 decades ago. And he was right. He also adopted another strategy. I picked this up from him. I found out some of my buddies do it. We get to vote on judges, keeping them in office or out. We need to vote them out. Most of these judges did not pass a background check. Most of these judges got some dirt on them. That's how they got the appointments, because they can be controlled. Who did that? Who assured us that we got the most corrupt judges possible? Our illustrious FBI. They're NFG. We can do without them. You think, oh my God, this guy's going to say defund the police next. No, I'm going to tell you, let's form up our militias. Leave the police right where they are. Let's form up the militias, and let's let the police see some muscle power. Because when they screw up and kill somebody, we need to hold them to task. We've got cops that get away with murder every day now. Jeez, we had one in Mesa. Not only that, after he murdered the kid, 25-year-old, I think he himself was 21 years old. He was a rookie. He did it with an AR-15 rifle, and his fellow police officer had an AR-15 rifle with him as well. Hell, why didn't he just hold his rifle on the fellow while his buddy went up and handcuffed him? Instead, he puts 4 or 5 rounds in him after he threatens and tells him he's going to kill him. Tells him about 4 or 5 times he's going to kill him. No wonder the kid fell down on the floor. I mean, that was upsetting. It's upsetting to watch. I could only watch it once. But yet the judge conducts himself in the courtroom, so the guy gets off, found not guilty. And to take it a step further, the rookie decides he's got PTSD and he deserves to have a check for disability. And the city of Mesa went and had to rehire this asshole, this murderer. They had to rehire him so that he would qualify for a disability check. And today he gets, I think it's like $2,500 a month until he retires. $2,500 a month for doing nothing. $2,500 a month for the disturbing sight that he created when he executed that man in front of him. Because the guy was a little too drunk and he was too big to be able to manage his body in the way the officer was demanding he conduct himself. I mean, when you look at it, the guy is told to put his fingers behind his head, arms up in the air, hands interlaced, fingers interlaced behind his head. And he's on his knees, and he's told to walk on his knees. My God, he was a big kid. He couldn't maintain his balance. The woman that was with him, she could do it. She could pull it off. And that cop executed him on the spot. To you police officers out there that are doing a good job, I sure appreciate it. But I don't know how far we can back you. This qualified immunity is going too far. It's become a license to kill. And look at these judges. And look at the FBI. If you or I lie to the FBI, we go to prison. The FBI lies to us, nothing happens. And not only that, FBI agents refuse to come forward. They're just starting to come forward slightly. Not enough coming forward for me, not enough to satisfy me that they can be reconciled. They cannot be reconciled. The organization needs to be destroyed. They need to have the military go through there and do a forensic audit of all of their computers, of everything. Let's sort out the crimes that the FBI has committed. Let's sort out the crimes the FBI has covered up. Let's charge them. Let's not have a central police agency like that again. Let's get rid of our Stasi. That's what they've become. Let's go back to sheriffs. Let's go back to the militias. State militias, public militias, and private militias. Both. Those were the guys that defended us against the British and won that independence. It was not a war of rebellion. It was a war of self-defense. God will not bless rebellion. God blesses self-defense. You are going to have to wake up. You are going to have to defend yourselves. And you're not going to be able to do it alone anymore. You can't do it alone anymore. We're all separated right now. Here's what you need to shore yourself up with. Proper name version of the King James Bible. Large print. It's nice. Get the tab version up. If you got the extra bucks, that'll help you out. Read it every day. Just push on through it. If something's boring, well, skim over it. Go to the sections that interest you. There's enough there. It'll keep you busy. It'll take you a while to read. A good, consistent, dedicated reader will read through the Bible once a year. It takes me a year and a half if I put my mind to it, though, so I guess I'm only half as good, huh? Make America good again. Yahweh bless.